Scorpio beloved, what if I told you that the 6 digits you are about to receive aren't just numbers, they are sacred keys aligned with your divine timing, encoded into your soul's contract long before this moment arrived. You didn't find this video by accident. You were guided here intentionally, powerfully, and at the exact moment your heart was finally ready to receive. In the days between November 9th and 14th, the heavens shift in rare formation. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, moves forward through your house of belief and inner truth. At the same time, the sun illuminates your hidden financial sector, stirring blessings that have long been waiting beneath the surface of your life. But these blessings are not here to be chased. They're here to be recognized, aligned with, and received when your spirit is in tune with their frequency. This is not about winning a lottery ticket. This is about unlocking the flow of provision and restoration that is already written for you. This is about becoming the vessel that can hold abundance without fear, without guilt, without delay. The 6 digits you're about to hear are more than symbols, theories, soul codes. Each one is connected to a precise spiritual vibration. They correspond with your financial rebirth, your physical wellness, your emotional balance, the colors that support your auric field, and a scriptural truth that grounds your journey in the unshakable Word of God. If you've been praying for clarity, for release, for proof that your waiting has not been in vain, then lean in. This is that moment. It may feel subtle at first, like a whisper more than a roar, but don't let that fool you. The frequency of breakthrough rarely announces itself loudly. It arrives through resonance. It arrives when you're calm enough to listen and bold enough to believe. So I ask you, right now, has a number crossed your mind already? Did something stir in your chest when this video began? Don't dismiss it. That may be your first sign. A sacred confirmation. Write it in the comments below to anchor it into your reality. Let your soul declare, I recognize the signal. I am ready. Let me take just a moment to thank you for your presence here. Every time you like, comment, share, or subscribe to this channel, you're not just supporting content. You're expanding a sacred community of seekers, healers, and believers. You're helping deliver messages of awakening to those who may be silently praying for guidance right now. And your energy, your simple presence, is part of that unfolding miracle. So thank you. Thank you deeply. Your support sustains this sacred circle we're building together here at Miracle of the Sign. And trust me, Scorpio, you'll want to stay with me until the very end today. Because what the universe, and yes, what God is about to reveal to your life, is not ordinary. It is extraordinary. It is encoded with purpose. It is designed just for you. And before we move forward, pause with me now and ask yourself this: what might happen in your life if this really is your appointed time? The next few moments might just change everything. Let's begin. Scorpio, as we step into the sacred energy of number 25, you may begin to notice an almost imperceptible shift within you, like the weight you've been carrying is loosening its grip, if only slightly. That is no coincidence. The number 25, in its divine numerological essence, represents the sacred union between intuition, 2, and transformation, 5. It's the whisper of inner wisdom joining hands with courageous change. This number doesn't just ask for adjustment, it invites liberation. And that liberation often begins not in our external world, but in the soft, unseen places within us that have long been holding pain, fear, or responsibility that was never ours to begin with. You see, The energy of 25 arrives at a moment in your life when something must be released before something greater can be received. Perhaps it's a lingering financial pressure that's quietly shaped how you make choices. Perhaps it's a belief system inherited from others, one that taught you survival, not ease. Or maybe, deeper still, it's the emotional residue stored within your body, specifically your liver, which energetically holds on to anger, frustration, and the kind of stress that festers in silence. When this number appears, it signals that the universe is offering you a gentle but firm opportunity to break that cycle. To detox not just your physical body, but your relationship with self-worth, security, and surrender. In healing circles, we often say that the path to financial freedom is never just about the money. It's about what money represents: safety, worthiness, value. And for Scorpio, a sign so deeply tied to transformation and emotional depth, 25 becomes a mirror. A reflection of how your inner terrain is ready to shift so that your outer life can finally reflect the abundance that's always been waiting. When you stop clinging to what's familiar but heavy, you begin to make room for what's light, new, and destined. Color carries frequency, and the supporting hue for this vibration is sea green, a shade that calms the nervous system and brings peace to the organs that work silently on your behalf each day. Drinking warm water with lemon in the morning isn't just a health ritual. It's a sacred act of self-honor. It tells your body, I am ready to release. I no longer need to carry this. I choose peace over pressure. There is also a deeper emotional healing present here, one that calls on your courage to name what's been stored away for too long. That's why journaling is recommended, not to fix what's broken, but to witness what's been buried. To give voice to the emotions you were once told to hide. In the quiet of your reflection, you may realize that some of the fear you've been navigating doesn't even belong to you. It may be ancestral. It may be societal. Or it may simply be outdated. But in either case, 25 is here to tell you, you are free to put it down now. There is something beautifully sacred about this process of letting go. As scripture reminds us in Jeremiah 30 verse 17, I will restore you to health and heal your wounds. That promise is not abstract. It's activated through your willingness to surrender. Through every glass of healing water, every honest journal entry, every breath where you choose softness over resistance, you are embodying the restoration you once only prayed for. And if you feel something shifting, even know if your spirit feels on the edge of some unknown relief, write it below. Say it aloud. Declare it. Let the universe hear you. I release what no longer serves me. I receive what was always mine. When the energy of number 08 enters your life, it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives in rhythm. Like the tide that quietly returns to shore, again and again, without asking permission. There is a timeless quality to this number, a quiet promise that abundance is not a peak moment, but a circular current. One that rises and flows, not with urgency, but with knowing. In numerology, 08 is the number of eternal movement. It loops into itself, forming the sacred symbol of infinity. No beginning, no end. Just continuation, just expansion, just alignment. And Scorpio, a sign that understands the power of cycles more than any other, is especially tuned to the frequency this number carries. In your journey, this number marks a turning point, not through dramatic upheaval, but through the subtle invitation to step into steady, sustainable prosperity. Not the kind that flashes and fades, but the kind that roots. Financially, this is a moment where investments emotional, material, or energetic begin to return. Perhaps not always in the form you expected, but in the precise form you need. Someone may show up with support. An opportunity may resurface that you once let go of. Or perhaps you simply begin to feel safer with the idea of receiving, without guilt, without shrinking. It's important to remember that abundance is not a reward. It is a resonance. It shows up when your energy is prepared to hold it, not just your bank account, but your beliefs, your nervous system, your sense of worthiness. Number 08 calls you to examine where you are still resisting the very thing you've asked for. It's not enough to say you want wealth if deep down you fear what it would change in you, or who might resent you for it. Real prosperity, true golden frequency, asks that you make peace with being seen. Make peace with being supported. The color gold surrounds this energy, not just in aesthetic, but in vibration. Gold connects to the solar plexus chakra, center of willpower, confidence, and self-worth. When this center is clear, you lead with warmth and direction rather than control. You magnetize support instead of chasing it. This is why gentle practices like morning yoga or golden light meditation can make such a difference. They don't just relax your body, they align your internal rhythm with abundance itself. You start your day not from urgency, but from centered intention. You become the space where wealth naturally wants to land. And here's the truth that most don't speak: some of the most powerful people struggle with receiving. Scorpio, your strength often lies in your independence. But this number asks you to look deeper. Where have you mistaken self-reliance for isolation? Where have you refused help not because it wasn't there, but because you didn't want to feel vulnerable? 08 says, it's time to unlearn that. Receiving is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is alignment. It is your birthright. So if you've noticed the number 08 appearing around you on receipts, license plates, random clocks, it's more than coincidence. It's a personal nudge from the universe, gently whispering, you're in the frequency. Stay here. Stay open. Stay trusting. Let go of the idea that abundance has to arrive through struggle. Let it come through ease. Let it come through balance. Let it come through a belief that your needs are holy, and that your dreams are not too much. If that speaks to you, take a moment now to anchor the energy. Comment below, I choose to sustain the frequency of abundance. Let this be your declaration, not just to the world, but to your own subconscious. Because when your mind believes it, your life starts to match it. And remember, wealth that lasts is not built in urgency. It is built in rhythm. It is built in trust. And that rhythm already lives in you. Scorpio, after the flowing abundance of number 08, we now arrive at a more intimate threshold, the energy of number 16. And unlike the radiant movement of infinity, 16 invites you inward, softly, like stepping into a quiet room you didn't know your heart needed. This number doesn't announce itself with grandeur. It arrives like a memory you haven't thought of in years, like the sound of your own name said gently by someone who truly sees you. In numerology, 1 speaks to new beginnings, and 6 to familial love and inner nurturing. Together, they form a vibration of emotional restructuring, a chance to rebuild your inner home from a place of truth rather than survival. There's something quietly radical about the invitation that 16 brings. It doesn't push you toward external goals or financial milestones. Instead, it asks, How safe do you feel with yourself? In a world that often rewards performance and polished exteriors, we rarely pause long enough to tend to the emotional structures we live inside. But number 16 knows something important. It knows that true prosperity, lasting love, and authentic purpose can only take root in soil that is emotionally nourished. And that nourishment often begins in the places we've abandoned, the hidden wounds, the stories we wrote off as just childhood, the parts of us that still long to be seen. This is why number 16 is deeply connected to healing the nervous system. Chronic anxiety, restlessness, emotional fatigue, these aren't weaknesses. They're messages. Clues that the body is still waiting for you to come home and tell it, finally, that it's safe now. That you no longer need to perform for love or chase worthiness. That you're allowed to pause, to breathe, to let go. Practices like writing a letter to your inner child or placing a hand over your heart before sleep may seem simple, but their power is anything but. These are acts of quiet revolution, moments when you declare, without needing anyone else's permission, that you are enough. That you are no longer here to judge yourself through the lens of who didn't love you well, or what you couldn't fix. You're here to begin again with love, with softness, with a steady hand on your own heart. Financially, this number marks a transition from unconscious spending into conscious intention. Not just with money, but with time, energy, and emotion. Are you pouring yourself into things that don't pour back? Are you buying temporary relief instead of building lasting peace? Number 16 encourages you to look deeper, to see where emotional scarcity may be driving physical decisions. It's not about restriction. It's about realignment. When you shift your motivation from coping to caring, your financial life begins to reflect that clarity too. The supporting color here is soft rose or earth pink, a tone that bridges grounding and compassion. When used intentionally, this color frequency helps reopen the heart space without overwhelming it. Whether in your clothing, your environment, or your visualization, allow this color to remind you, gentleness is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. And if, in reading this, you feel a subtle ache, resinga lump in your throat, or a longing you can't quite name, that's not something to avoid. That's healing knocking. Let it in. And if you've ever found yourself apologizing to others more easily than you could forgive yourself, then this is your moment. Speak it. Anchor it. Right below, I forgive myself. I begin again with love. Let that be your new beginning, not just for this moment, but for the life you are creating from this point forward. As we move forward from the gentle healing of number 16, the energy begins to rise, not in intensity, but in depth. You are now stepping into a sacred alignment between two distinct yet interconnected vibrations, 42 and 11. Together, they form a bridge. One anchors your feet to solid ground, the other lifts your awareness toward higher realms. And Scorpio, with your innate ability to hold both the seen and unseen, this is where your power finds its next expression. Number 42 carries the stabilizing force of the number 4 structure, reliability, roots, and the cooperative nature of the number 2, which represents connection, duality, and support. When these two combine, the message is clear: you are not alone. There is a network forming around you, even if you cannot yet see it. Financially, this often shows up as help from unexpected sources. A friend offers assistance you didn't ask for. A community opens a door you didn't even know was there. Support becomes visible not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped hiding your need. And yet, the gift of 42 goes beyond tangible resources. It offers a form of energetic recovery, especially for those of you who have been carrying more than your share for far too long. The adrenal system, so often overlooked, begins to heal when you no longer feel like you're doing everything alone. That unrelenting pressure to hold it all together starts to soften. Your body, your energy field, and your spirit begin to learn a new rhythm, one where help is not a failure, but a sacred exchange. The silver-gray frequency that accompanies this number brings balance to the mind and nervous system. It's the color of neutrality, of wisdom that isn't swayed by chaos. It says, stay centered. Let the world move around you without pulling you off your axis. Then, almost like a breath rising from that stable ground, comes the vibration of 11. A master number, an invitation, a doorway. In numerology, 11 represents spiritual alignment, intuitive power, and the deep whispers of guidance that don't always speak in words. This number appears when you are being called to listen not to the noise of the outside world, but to the quiet clarity within. This is often when synchronicities increase. You may start seeing patterns, hearing the same words repeated by different people, feeling nudges that seem to come from nowhere. That is not imagination. That is energetic intelligence speaking to you in a language you already know. In your financial path, this number signals a time to lean into purpose. You may find success not through strategy, but through sincerity. Offerings that come from your truth coaching, healing, teaching, mentoring will begin to attract the right people. Not because you're pushing, but because you're aligned. In health, the guidance is to pull away from crowds, even momentarily, to detox your energetic field. Your nervous system doesn't just respond to stress, it also responds to too much stimulation. Give yourself quiet. Give yourself breath. Let the indigo tones of 11 activate your insight gently, like a third eye opening, not in force, but in grace. If you've recently remembered a vivid dream, write it down. If you've heard the same message echo from different voices, pay attention. These are signs. This is how the higher realms align with your human journey, through patterns, through timing, through resonance. And if the number 11 has been appearing in your Lithian receipts, clocks, passing glances, know this: you are not imagining things. You are being guided. Take a moment now to ground what you felt. If 11 has touched your path, write in the comments below, I have received the sign. Let that simple statement become your energetic agreement. Because acknowledgement is a form of activation. And when you say yes to the signal says yes to you. Let the portal remain open. Let the connection deepen. You are listening now, and what's meant for you is listening back. Scorpio, after journeying through the grounding support of 42 and the intuitive gateway of 11, we now arrive at a deeply symbolic vibration, 39. This number holds the energy of culmination and full circle return. It marks the sacred threshold between what has been and what is about to be. If you've been feeling like you're standing at the edge of something you can't quite name, a quiet sense that something is ending, even as something else is quietly forming, then this is your moment of recognition. In numerology, 3 represents expression, creativity, and truth made visible. The number 9 represents completion, the final turning of a karmic wheel. When they combine as 39, they signal the closing of a soul chapter, often one that has taken years, even lifetimes, to understand, and the invitation to finally reclaim what is yours. In your financial life, this number may show up as long overdue returns. Money that was once lost is now coming back into circulation. Investments made from the heart, whether in time, resources, or trust, are ready to bear fruit. But this is not the kind of abundance that explodes into your life with drama. It is quiet, precise, timely. It enters in the same frequency it was sent out. If you gave in love, it returns with grace. If you offered with sincerity, it comes back with stability. This is the harvest that only arrives when your hands are no longer clenched with fear, but open with readiness. But there's more. The emotional healing carried in this number lives in your voice, your throat, your breath, your lungs. How many times have you silenced yourself to keep the peace? How often have you swallowed the truth just to avoid discomfort? 39 is a vibration that calls those unspoken words out of hiding. Not to explode, not to blame, but to release. Because what's held in the throat too long doesn't just disappear. It stores itself in the lungs, the breath, the nervous system. Over time, it can make expression feel dangerous, even when the world is finally safe. So this number gently urges you, speak what needs to be said. Express what no longer fits. Give voice to the truth you've matured enough to hold without shame. The supporting color here is burnt orangey, a warm, grounded hue that symbolizes creative freedom and emotional authenticity. This color holds the vibration of fire, not to burn what was, but to illuminate what is ready to be seen. Whether you wear it, paint with it, or visualize it swirling around your heart and throat, let it remind you, your voice was never a mistake. It is the key to your release. It is how the past completes its cycle. In practical terms, take a moment to write down 3 things you're ready to end with peace. Not in anger, not in resistance, but with quiet strength. Is it an outdated belief about your worth? A relationship dynamic that no longer matches your growth? A habit that once protected you but now only weighs you down? Whatever it is, writing it down becomes an energetic contract. And then, do something small but meaningful to express. Say something you've withheld. Write a song lyric you never dared to speak aloud. Doodle an image that carries your buried emotion. Let energy move. Let breath flow. Let creativity become your closure. Because when you clear space, you send a signal. Not of emptiness, but of readiness. And Scorpio, if you're feeling like the cycle is ending not with noise, but with a quiet sense of knowing, then honor that. Name it. Anchor it. Declare it. Right below, I am ready to receive what's next. Let that become your closing sentence to a chapter that once defined you, and your first word in a story that finally reflects who you've become. And now, Scorpio, as we bring this sacred journey to a close, let me gently remind you of what has truly been unfolding here. You didn't just listen to a message. You activated something deep within your soul. Each number you received was not a prediction, it was a vibration, a portal, a mirror. And you? You are no longer someone waiting on the edge of your prayers. You are becoming the person who is finally able to receive what you once only dared to hope for. There is a powerful truth in that. Because when your energy shifts, your reality begins to respond. And it's not magic. It's alignment. The moment you wrote down that number, the one that stirred something in your chest, you weren't just making a comment. You were anchoring a new frequency into your timeline. You are declaring, I'm no longer just wishing, I'm claiming. And that's why I invite you now to take one more small but meaningful step. Which number spoke to you the most? Which one felt like it wasn't just a number but a message, a memory, a mirror of what you're ready to become? Write it in the comments below. Let it be your confirmation. Let it be your agreement with the divine timing that brought you here. Because sometimes, the act of naming is what begins the unfolding. I want to take a moment, from the depth of my heart, to thank you for staying with me until the very end. Your presence here means more than you know. Every moment of attention you gave, every insight that sparked within you, is a seed. And at Miracle of the Sign, we believe that every seed planted in faith, in honesty, in self-love will bloom. Maybe not today. Maybe not in the way you expect. But it will. So as you step back into your day, ask yourself, what are you willing to believe is possible now? Who do you become when you stop waiting for change and start embodying it? What if you were already living on the edge of your breakthrough, and this message was simply here to remind you to look down and realize you're already standing in the field you once prayed to reach? You don't need to rush. You don't need to force. Just keep your heart open, your breath steady, and your trust rooted. You've already done more than you think. And if something real touched you in this message today, if you felt seen, understood, or even just a little more connected, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Miracle of the Sign. Because this isn't just a channel. This is a community. A quiet gathering of people just like you, who are learning to trust the rhythm of life again, one moment at a time. May every comment you leave, every insight you carry, every step you take from this point forward be a quiet yes to the future that is already on its way to meet you. You are ready. And what is truly yours will never pass you by.